Welcome back, everybody, here to the SCL. It is another week of playoffs, but looking a little bit different, not only in the terms of the games and the stage that we're looking at in the big scheme of things, but also a different face here on the desk to join us for the day. Because Scott, well, apparently he's dying, and we're not going to worry about that until after the game's over with. I'm going to be joined by Cheese Up for the day. How you doing, my man?
Hey, glad to be here, Mick. I'm super excited, and I think we have an exciting matchup coming today, too. East Tennessee State going against University of South Carolina, and one of the most exciting things about this matchup for me is the fact that it's Rising Star. I mean, these are not players who have played this game to the highest level, but I think that adds a level of chaos and unpredictability that's going to make this game exciting and a fun watch.
Right. It's ESU and USC is going to be the matchup here for the day. And obviously, talking about these two teams, you've already talked about how the fact they're inside the Rising Star playoffs. And I mean, while this isn't really the best of the batch, when we look at the likes of the winner's circle and the LCQ that's going on in those other two stages here of playoffs, it's definitely enough to go ahead and put a bit of a wrench in plans of teams because, I mean, obviously, these are the guys that are looking to go ahead and throw curveballs into plans. These are the guys looking to go ahead and be those rising stars, as it's labeled, looking to be the ones to really kind of turn things up and maybe create somewhat of an upset later on, even if they get knocked out in the next stage of playoffs. But it doesn't really matter here because these two teams, while at a very big discrepancy in terms of seeding when it comes around to number 5 and number 12, respectively, it is going to be an interesting day nonetheless because, well, Infernosis, obviously, as we've already alluded to, he was the one who, well, apparently said that these should be one of the two teams that carry all the way through. Who really knows? But I'll let the guy choose a match for the week. So here we are looking at what we're dealing with.
100%. And I mean, either way, even if these teams aren't necessarily the ones who are going to win it all, it does mean that, according to Infernosis, these are going to be some two very solid teams, which means we're probably going to see some fun, chaotic gameplay. And I'm very excited.
Yeah, and most definitely. I mean, considering talking about the two teams and seeing what they got to provide, let's go ahead and look at the map pool to see where we're going to be taking all this action here for the day because, well, it's a bit of an interesting one here for the SEL. We haven't seen too much of Fracture and Icebox yet because, well, you know, with the rotation that just recently went through and even then a lot of bands that have been going out, when you look at the kind of upper echelon when it goes around to that tier 1, that higher upper echelon to tier 2 as well, I mean, not many teams are really selecting these maps that we've seen inside the SEL thus far. So knowing that we're going to get one of them guaranteed to open things up, and that second one is a possibility later down the line, I like to see that we're going ahead and diversifying the map pool a little bit, kind of trying things out and not really giving too much away when it comes around to those default map selections.
Very true. Yeah, a lot of these teams maybe playing those top picked maps, those comps, those ideas a little bit closer to the chest, hoping to use them on later on. But I mean, Fracture, a very interesting map. We have 4 different lanes going to 2 different sites. We've seen a lot of different compositions play well, and I think, like as you mentioned at the top level, these comps aren't fully fleshed out when it comes to the highest level of gameplay here. So a lot of these teams do have a lot of flexibility if they want to run double controller. Do you want to run no sentinel? How do you want to play this? How do you want to get aggressive on defense? And how do you want to work around the map? And then same thing on Icebox, where some of these new agents could, throw a wrench in some people's plans. I mean, I've even seen top teams playing Whaley on Icebox. So who knows what's going to happen today? Who knows what we're going to get? And I'm excited to see a lot of these agents on some of these more unique maps.
Yeah, and even though, I mean, while we don't have nearly as much data when it comes around to the other teams, and we're looking at the tier 2, obviously, a bit of a highlight for the tier 1s, all things considered, but even then, still knowing that, I mean, we're going to that Fracture to open things up. We have seen a lot of the incorporation of Fracture, because we talk about that trickle effect down the line, from tier 1 to tier 2, into the collegiate scene, and seeing how all that kind of works. We have seen a lot of Fracture being played in tier 2 as of late, and a little bit of map selections here on tier 1. So I do think there is a bit of a sample pool to work with here, but it's not really the most definitive thing when you look at collegiate players and you understand that, well, hey, I'm not being paid tens of thousands of dollars to actually go ahead and lock in and play every single agent perfectly. So you're not having nearly as much of a kind of comfortability factor, kind of just more so a business per usual kind of mindset when it comes around to this. So you're not going to be seeing, I mean, obviously the Breach I feel like should be a guarantor. The Brimstone's going to be great there. But I mean, obviously that dual selection, as you mentioned, we can see either the Cypher or the Vise, depends on, that's another comfortability factor. I mean, there's a lot really dishing out here today. And I mean, it really comes down to what these two teams want to feel.
100%. I think that's one of the biggest things is knowing at this stage of playing, these teams aren't the most invested, so the comfort picks are definitely going to shine through. Speaking of the picks, we are going to be heading into agent select here, and right off rip, it does look like one of the Sentinels you didn't call out, and Snowflakes is going to be rocking that Killjoy.
Not the locked in just yet, but I mean, yes, most definitely a possibility. KJ, we haven't really seen much of when it comes around this map, at least in terms of the SEL. I mean, knowing that device, you're seeing a lot more people trying to go ahead and kind of play for a bit more flash ability, or even better yet, trap, and looking to utilize those smokes, get the spray throughs off those, or even then be able to flash themselves out to fight these fights and be a little bit more aggressive on the defensive end of things. And even better yet, Vice, obviously, on the attacking side as well, being able to plant that steel rose through literally anything makes it just really easy so long as you know that where these defaults take place, where you can allure that tension to and make sure to find a bit of a curveball to throw the wrench of the plans of anybody else. But even then, talking about more so instead of the Sentinels, the controllers, we do see a bit of a swap up there. We see Lychee opting in for that Astra rather than the Brimstone that we see at RB. So, I mean, and that's to be expected. It is a kind of not the most interesting swap up, but it's one nonetheless, knowing that teams love running that stim pad. They love having the orbital strike for kind of a little bit more delay. And even then, better yet, they kind of go in with everything else. But on top of that, not only are we going to talk about controller, but Duelist is the big highlight that we always mention. And obviously, there's a differential there as well.
Yeah, 100%. Dr. Doofenshmirtz is going to be running that Raise, which is a very common pick on this map. The satchel's giving you great mobility, especially early on, to take some aggressive fights. Sniper, meanwhile, is going to be rocking that Jet, which, again, a very classic pick. We've seen that time and time again. Jet's pretty much relevant on every map you play it, right? And then one of the other things I want to highlight that's the same on both sides, but something that really excites me is that Breach Tejo combo. The aggressive plays that teams have managed to pull out with that combo of utility, those guided salvos pairing with the fault line, pairing with all these different combos of utilities that you can have to send your duelists in makes it really hard to hold on to space on either side of the map. So I'm really excited to see how both of these teams handle the aggression on the other side and, get aggressive on their own front.
Right, and even more so, I mean, looking at the Breach and Tejo kind of combination, you've seen the teams are just kind of going ahead and using the guided salvos to go ahead and just play out more time. I mean, having an ability that regenerates, that does damage. I don't know exactly. I mean, I should be able to know this off the top of my head, but I do believe that Tejo is the first one essentially to have that in his kit, be the one to kind of be able to do that damage naturally and have it regenerate as well. And knowing it's kind of on that 40 to a minute timer afterwards, so long as you've got enough at least there to bide that time, we have seen teams opting in, planning on the A side of the map, and then just going ahead and funneling utility back towards heaven over and over and over again where they never really have to interact with it once more. And they're just looking to bide out that time, dwindle down that clock, but they're not going to be touching it here to get things kicked off. We're just seeing a bit of a B push coming through at a sniper, looking to take over heaven, looking to just overwhelm these players, so they don't really have too much allocation except for the initiator hand, which can't hit those shots.
Yeah, Sniper going to convert the first, and they're looking for more as they get past that sheer wall setup. Skeleton not giving up the site for free, going to take down RB, but Sniper immediately trade. Lychee's going to find one, trade it out as well. It is now a 3v2 as the site is theirs, and both of these players are going to be flanking in from the arcade sides. Then it's going to be able to get the spike down over towards the middle of site. If they go scaling up, first contact, right click lands onto Sniper.
Yeah, Aka can't really get too much there. I mean, the Sniper's already gone ahead and found themselves 6 feet under, but even then looking at a 2v2 situation, I mean, ETSU have more than enough to work with here, so long as Doofenshmirtz just doesn't absolutely run through the rest of them. So being the 1v1 situation back towards main, Doofenshmirtz had the timing off the back of that. Thankfully, Snowflakes had the trade to initially get that first pick, and everything after that point is just going to be an easy little cleanup here for USC to get things kicking. So, I mean, a great start for ETSU in terms of actually getting that side, especially being the attacking side, able to get those extra 300 creds from the plant, but everything past that just seemed to be a bit of a timing, a bit of a lost kind of understanding of where these players can be coming from, considering that the lap was coming out from both of them just on different sides. And I mean, it's just something you're expecting possibly to come through from main, but it's a pistol round. You got to get creative with it, and they did exactly that to warrant themselves that first to play with. But with all the guns coming through, all that economy there, surprisingly enough, Sniper got enough kills, or at least enough in the round, to go ahead and opt in for a share from this one to possibly shut down a lot of these Bulldogs and the one Guardian coming through for this next one.
It looks like they are going to be pivoting towards a little bit of B main aggression, where Ithaca's going to try to contest, and as you mentioned, Sniper rips his head off. The glasses go flying off Tejo. That's a great first kill for the side of ETSU, and I mean, that's value that you already weren't sure you were going to get in that round. They're going to send out the guided salvos to show some more presence, but they are looking to head over towards A. Dr. Doofenshmirtz takes first contact, couple shots exchanged, sends out the paint shells to slow it down, spider drone and contest, and swings out and gets the first onto Sniper. He's able to trade out his teammate, and through the stun is able to escape with the satchels. Great pickup there.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that we're not seeing a little bit more discipline or a little bit more slow play coming out through there. I mean, considering you did see that Bulldog drop pretty close up when it comes around to that staircase and the after smoke to come out as well to give you that space that you need to pick that gun up and transfer it to this A site. That's one more gun in the hands of a player. That's one more just huge addition to the arsenal, considering the two sheriffs that you brought in here as well. But they're going to kind of bog in, toss things off to each other as things go along, look for these upgrades within their own little unit because they're still doing a very sufficient job at getting some damage off, finding these bloods, as you can already tell. Basically, a player and a half down, looking to push onto this A site and get that spike down, which it seems like they're going to manage. So it really just comes down to, well, the retake, which Doofenshmirtz has already made relatively easy by cutting off Ace.
And it's going to get cut out trying to retreat to main as the spike goes down from RB over on that default position now. They're just trying to escape with value, maybe get a round win here, but for ETSU, every little bit of damage counts, especially when you're going up against this spy this round 2 to make that round 3 any bit easier. Paint Shell is going to push out RB. Zenith finds one, but Dr. Doofenshmirtz on 3 and looking for the ace, potentially swings out, going for more, gets the 4th. One more for the ace, but Zenith shuts it down. Skeleton gets the trade and gets the round, but that was a costly value round for USC.
I mean, carrying over at least the Guardian, that's the big primary target there when it comes around to the guns that it was available, and having a Bulldog there as a backup. But I mean, even then, as you mentioned, having the 3 Bulldogs and a Guardian for that entire round is just kind of insane to be looking at. You didn't opt in for the Spectres there. You're looking at investing over 2,000 for every singular player, and you can see it is going to go ahead and kill them right here, right now, in terms of their buys. When you see that, obviously, Doofenshmirtz probably going to go for an early showstopper, kind of push out with that. Just have a sheriff as a backup just in case things really just start to go bad. But I mean, even then, you're going to have probably a little bit of assistance, maybe a bit of a push out and some help there if inside the A main where you already see them allocating themselves. But if they don't end up running into a player, well, we're not going to be really seeing that. The salvos come out early over towards this B. You can tell that ETSU loves tempting this area of the map, loves seeing if they can go ahead and get that salvo out initially, find themselves possibly a quick take afterwards, or even then maybe a quick little first blood to exchange it. But when you got these guys all just kind of stacked up, just waiting, understanding that this seems like the game plan, it comes down to can you find the exchanges and already opening things up. Seeing that Sniper was completely isolated, the rest of the team is scattered about the map, trying to figure out what they can really collect from this.
And I don't necessarily know if I hate that play from Sniper, but I don't know about doing it this round. You're going to walk out, try to take the timing on the Spider Drone, and catch out the Tejo player. However, understanding that the economy is weaker for the side of USC, you might not want to take that sort of play this round and instead wait for a round where the guns are a little bit more equalized, because that is a free gun upgrade for the side of USC, and that makes this round that much more difficult to win. As you've lost another player's life, she's going to find Snowflakes walking up on the drop. So now it is a 5v3 for USC, even with the weaker weaponry, and it does seem like they have the wrong read, as it looks like ETSU is going to try to go ahead and pinch these B players in the end.
Yeah, not really setting up towards staircase just yet for this as well. Going ahead and opting in, trying to fight for that main control, seeing what they can really manage there ahead of time. Considering that you got Skeleton holding the corner, H trying to come in from that backside in a second. It's just not going to work there. An absolute run through here for the side of USC to just kind of hold this thing out. Make sure the ETSU's having a lot of complications, but still, apparently all these upgrades isn't enough for them yet. They still have the number advantage. They still have the showstopper to go ahead and push for this retake. And, well, here comes the Rolling Thunder to kind of go ahead and stall that out for a second. But you don't need to be aiming down sights with that showstopper in hand. It already went out, didn't find much of an effect. It just really comes down to the timer here and what ETSU can do. And quite frankly, the way we're looking at it with the smoke up towards heaven, having players swing out, it's not going to do much. USC find themselves a third round. And I mean, all consecutively right here off the get-go, it's going to be a big hit here to ETSU, understanding that they haven't really been able to find anything. More players alive at the end of a round where they had a deficit compared to the last one when they only had 2 remaining after an advantage.
Yeah, it's a little bit shocking thing to see. I think one of the things there was Dr. Doofenshmirtz went ahead and did miss that showstopper, only finding a little bit of damage onto RB, but it actually ended up allowing him to get 2 more kills and the defuse. He's almost halfway to another one as well. Steel Garden nearby as well for Skeleton. And these ults are just rolling in for the side of USC, along with the economy, as we see all sheriffs and a classic on the side of ETSU. And they're really struggling to find some value on this attacking half. And it's not even due to aggression for the side of USC. I just think it's too much isolated gunfights, too many fights that are just not going your way, and you need to maybe adapt your utility, adapt your fights. And here we go. Bladestorm coming in from Sniper. Gonna try to take the first contact with those salvos, that flashpoint. He's gonna have to cut here, Clevin, and too many angles to deal with at once, and his team's all in main behind the sheer wall.
Yeah, all just everybody being cut off here in the process. Not really much you can do off the back of it, considering, I mean, you did see Sniper trying to go in there, try to get something done, but even then it feels like every single round we've seen this so far. Sniper leading into the charge when it comes around to B main, and it seems like it's a bit telegraphed now at this point, where USC are expecting it. You've already seen Doofenshmirtz lap around once more, push out towards spawn. I mean, Ithaca looking to go ahead and once again roundabout. I mean, everybody's understanding these guys pushed B initially. So what do? Just pinch them, make their lives a living hell, make sure they can't get out once the dust has settled. And you're seeing that right here, to where you're at a point where now RB is completely locked out. Says, I have nowhere to go but to A, because, well, while there's 4 lanes in the map, as you mentioned earlier, every single one of them is going to be covered by a player pushing out and finding that last pick to find themselves a 4th round in the row. So, I mean, USC is understanding what ETSU is doing here because, well, as I mentioned earlier, it feels relatively telegraphed. We have perfect vision. We can see the X-rays. We can see everything they're doing. But it feels like USC also has that same exact kind of benefit in their own hands because they just understand that if Sniper's pushing B every round, they only got 1 duelist. So they have to be somewhere nearby.
Yeah, I honestly don't love the way ETSU is playing this so far. I think they're getting very predictable, as you mentioned, and the levels of stall from USC is just making every single execute fall apart. This timeout is desperately needed, and I'm excited to see how they reframe their attacking mindset after this. But going against that sheer wall, when you run into it, Sniper, desperate play with the Blade Storm, and just was sending it in towards B main, was trying to make something happen, make something work, and it just too many angles to deal with when you don't have your team coming out. That sheer wall just cutting off all your support and a lot of your utility as well. Great stall from the side of both Breach and Tejo on the side of USC as well. Those initiators, those guided salvos, those fault points, all those different fault lines, flash points, all those different pieces of utility working very, very well to kind of slow down these executes and make them unable to fast push the angles they want to. So I'd love to see some more north side aggression coordinated, which does look like the ETSU is going for. And yeah, finally not actually pushing B main off rip.
Yeah, I mean, just going ahead and looking how things are off rip. I mean, you're seeing what these guys are doing. You're seeing what ETSU is trying to manage. And even then, they really just need to start figuring out where these initial pieces start coming in their direction. I mean, look at that second round that we saw. Sniper was able to manage. That was the closest round we saw with 2 years remaining was with that round when they were even in deficit. They had the initial over towards theirs in that B main area of the map. And they haven't since then really stretched out to see where these players are kind of extending, where they're looking for these initial fights. They're just sending a player in and having them die in the process, and hopefully, here we go. It's a full fight, finally, understandably, at that A main door, knowing somebody's going to be within the vicinity, knowing somebody's going to be allocated towards A, but even then still not wanting to rush off the back of it because, well, you've had A's managed to get a kill over towards B. With Skeleton now there with the exchange, the smoke's going down, you're saying this is a very doable plan. If we get it down right now, we still have a main advantage to play with in the orbital barrage to buy out some more time.
100% Brim with those double PC utility, great for stall. That's the key difference in these 2 controller players, especially in the post plan. Sniper going to play aggressive, play towards the site, and the Steel Guard is actually going to do a lot of damage, but I love that stall. Nanoswarm comboed with the concuss to slow down that retake, and oh my god, Dr. Doofenshmirtz ends up jumping. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's tech, maybe we just don't know. Snowflakes and Sniper fall. Orbital strike now to try to slow down this retake. It's a 2v3, but they still have so many layers. Gonna try to send out that molly. Is able to live. RB gets it down, lives, gets a kill, landing with the trade, and I think the time is in favor of USC's 5th round. It's gonna come down to the wire, and I think Dr. Doofenshmirtz has it. No, he doesn't. Never mind.
That's great play there. I mean, understandably so. That's what you're expecting out of your Brimstone. You're hoping they understand that timing perfectly, and that's exactly what it was. Knowing that there's going to be enough time there. Even then, I mean, you and I were kind of on the same boat there. Understandably so, thinking that maybe it should have been enough. But, I mean, we didn't have anybody touch ahead of time. And even in that little pocket, making sure there's no way to kind of maneuver around it. Great stance there from ETSU. It took them a long time to get here, to, well, be on the board, but even off the back of that, it still cost them a lot. Every single player died in the process. Even though USC lost that round, you see a 4-round win streak accumulating on their side. Even in the majority of those rounds, they weren't losing a lot of guns when they went through it for those full buys and had all these rifles to work with. But maybe off the back of that, ETSU have a better understanding of where these player allocations are going. I mean, even then, hey, main. We saw the first blood come through there earlier on the side of ETSU. Maybe they can repeat that once more by shutting down Doofenshmirtz early. Or maybe back up towards heaven if they get that space. They're just looking for something here. But One thing I will say they're not going to be getting is going to be anything out of B main. No players extending out there. We've already seen USC learn their lesson. We've already seen players trying to push out, and knowing that Skeleton isn't going to be playing towards heaven and rather back towards spawn, you get a lot of free space here to go ahead and put that KJ lockdown down.
Ooh, Ithaca looking to punish immediately. Somehow, Snowflakes. That alarm bot timing was just terrible, but is able to convert the kill. That looked very dangerous for the execute there with the lockdown. It looked like it was going to fall early. Great awareness because to be in that location, but just was unable to convert the gunfight and therefore get that lockdown taken down. And Lychee, though, starting off this retake strong, going to find the first kill onto Ace, but is getting completely wrapped by Zenith. Yep. Great wrap around there, taking the rope from main, just, understanding that he's probably going to have a timing and is able to get it. Aftershock to slow them down, and so here comes the layers of stall in the post plant. Skeleton finding the first onto Sniper, but Dr. Doomfishmertz is saying this round is still winnable, this round is still ours. Pops the showstopper, looking to take some space, take some control. Landing is going to get first one. Doomfishmertz, does he shoot in the corner? He does not. Free kill there on Snowflakes if he does. Robot sends off the Molly as he falls to the Phantom of Doomfishmertz. It is now a 2v1, and Landing is going to be able to jump in the corner, find the defuse, even with 20 HP to his name, and get the kill onto Snowflakes. And I think I still liked one of the things that ETSU did. I want to point on early in the round is they baited out some of that stall utility from Doofenshmirtz and Landing US over towards that A main position without committing a lot of their own utility or players to it. Just a little bit of a jiggle, get 2 flashpoints and a paint shells out. And if they're able to do that a little bit better, they won't get punished with as much stall utility on their executes.
Yeah, it's just stalling out here really for ETSU. And even then, I don't think they're putting enough pressure actually towards that spawn and looking around. They're having a better understanding of the entire lap of the map, right? I mean, they're going ahead, allocating in that last one, like Zenith, we saw kind of going ahead, going for the lap, looking back towards BRK, looking to kind of get that flank once again to really just punish USC because they get so comfortable towards this backside of the map. But they want to take that control early. They want to see if they can find anything, and they just get nothing off the back of it. And this isn't the round that's really going to work out for them, considering the buys that were at hand, but knowing that they're still exploring options, looking for things. I think what they got to do going forward is in these post plants, that's where a lot of their game plan falls through. They've been touching up on these sites. I mean, getting that spike down relatively consistently, but going forward, they got to make sure that, okay, Sniper needs to live, and this guy can't just be sitting on site with the rest of us. He needs to be continuing that pressure. We saw it early in the match. This guy does not care about running into a suicide mission in a 1v4 scenario. Do it earlier on. Do it to contest a player and maybe catch off Skeleton, catch off Lychee. Who knows what you can find, but you're not really even attempting it to know what's there.
100%. And I feel like in these post plans, they want to play around those layers of post plant utility they have. But that just ends up with Sniper just sitting alone in sight. Maybe use a little bit of that utility, take a little bit more space, put a question mark in. But this round is just not going to go ETSU's way, and that's okay. It's a save round. You are going to get Flawless, gets a little bit of damage, and almost had a kill early on there undropped. The north side pinch from USC is very aware and well done from them. Heading into this next round, we do see an Armageddon online for the side of USC, as well as an Astro Divide. A lot of retake potential there. So if I do see a full side execute from the side of ETSU, if we do get that postman down with a lot of players, I want to see some aggression. You understand they have an Armageddon and Cosmic Divide online. You have to be aware of that. Sure, you have your own Armageddon as well for that post-plant utility. Brim Molly, all that stuff is great, but you got to be aggressive. You got to take that space, especially having that understanding of the, you can just Astro Divide off the spike, and then it's going to be very hard for you to contest. And it does look like they're going to try to do this over on the A side.
Yeah, looking for anything here. I mean, just looking to swap up these entryways. And I mean, the A side, in terms of the actual initial picks, has been working out better for them. They've been encountering these fights, they've been understanding where the round lies and who really has control of it earlier on. But when you get to these situations, I mean, B, they found more consistent plants there because they haven't run into many players because, well, USC's always been playing for retake over there. Now, here over towards the A side, they play a little more aggressive. They like to push it out. They like to be kind of right up in your face and bringing the fight to you early so they can do that lap around on B to set up for that retake. But as things are going right now, they still have player advantage until finally another one's knocked down there by Sniper. Good kicks and good starts to go ahead and get things rolling, but everything afterwards, it's not looking too hot for ETSU. Sure, it's a 2v3 scenario, but every single player on the side of ETSU is literally one shot, and Doofenshmirtz will find to manage the bullets to get both of those players picked off. So in a map where we see the ETSU like to select it, for today's circumstance alone at the moment, just isn't really working out for them as we see a 7-1 in front of us, where now USC has locked ETSU out and have guaranteed themselves an advantage when it comes around to the conclusion of the half. But everything going forward, I mean, even then, funny enough, USC, they were the team that was looking at running that double sentinel. They were the ones that was hovering the Cypher and the Vice for a second just to kind of explore that and see if it was an option. And regardless, they say that's not really what we want to do. We're doing a good enough job of bringing the aggression. This is their other team's pick. And I mean, if we're winning this thing out like this, imagine what Haven could look like going forward.
I want to highlight Dr. Doofenshmirtz real quick. 4K that round brings him to a 16-2 with an 8KD. That's the third showstopper online. And just that gunplay and that presence coming out from Dr. Doofenshmirtz was so much pressure on the side of ETSU. Always having to deal with showstoppers no matter where you try to go. It's just so many layers of raise utility and gunfights. And so it makes it very tricky. Meanwhile, on the north side, Lychee, what a shot. Absolutely destroys A sitting in the corner. And just all these little gunfights are just accumulating to the ETSU's round deficit here. There we go, another one. A headshot hit by Snowflakes, but it doesn't matter. That Sheriff only dealing 145. Skeleton gets the kill. Sniper is finally trading out one, but it's still a 3v4 now. And Landing just through the wall. Another unfortunate gunfight. Great span from Landing. Everything is just falling apart.
Yeah, it's just not much of a window here for ETSU to really try anything. I mean, obviously the Bides aren't really there to back them up in terms of the arsenal. No real guns inside of their hands. I mean, the Sheriffs are looking good. They're hitting their shots, but even then, considering, as you mentioned, the range is going to be the one thing really cutting them off when it comes around to the B side, which lets USC know that they're probably going to be going A here. I mean, they wanted to go for those aggressive fights early. Maybe if they understand they have the distance over there towards that kind of satellite dish or even back towards main, there's a chance to be taking those fights. But there's still a lot of question marks on ETSU's side with whether or not they're going to be winning these fights. There's just too many question marks inside this game. Nothing has seemed definitive or guaranteed for them thus far to feel comfortable enough to really play this thing out. So in a 4v2 situation, it's already looking like the possibility, or a pretty darn good one, I'd say, when it comes around to having that 8th round come underway. Because with all the denials, Skeleton being there, I mean, Ithaka just over there finding another pick. It just seems to be easy pickings for USC as they find themselves another. And we are seeing this over and over and over again where ETSU can't find a place to really breach through. There's so much utility allocated towards that B side of the map. And even then, better yet, you look over back towards A, that's where they're pushing out. That's where they're finding these aggressive plays. And that's where Doofenshmirtz is just completely running through ETSU. So, I mean, if you're ETSU, what do? Quite frankly, I think the only thing you can do at this point, maybe you go for a drone play, see if you can just suppress that Vice for a second, and then flood the site. Because they have so much reliance on Skeleton being there. But other than that, they're not budging.
That they aren't, and I love this aggression coming out. Gonna pop the showstopper paired with that. Ooh, Ithaka is gonna get the first with that guided salvo. That utility combo is great. Showstopper no value, and Snowflakes re-aggresses and gets to trade, and that's actually kind of favorable for ETSU. You were able to trade out the first, and the only unfortunate part here is you don't have your duelist anymore. You don't have someone who can throw those crosshairs, and Landing just holding down, you know, the Sultan of Sands, absolutely destroying all of this hold. Gets 2, gets 3, almost gets 4. Ithaka there for the trade, and Landing and Ithaka getting all the kills that round. And, I mean, ETSU is struggling to find a hold, struggling to find a place to go. Great utility from the side of USC, and I love their aggressive utility there in main. Being able to take that space, take that control, and even after they lost their duelists, they're able to hold onto it and pinch accordingly. And just those disciplines and those protocols that they have set up have been working immaculately for them.
And struggling to even win a fight, better yet. I mean, they're just, these fights are not going their way. They have so much utility being thrown at them, and even then, every time it feels like they go anywhere that feels relatively penetrable, you got a player there shooting through it. I mean, Ladinga's able to go ahead and find plenty of those kills. Now 3 kills through a wall inside this game alone that I've seen. I mean, it's just insane to see that. I mean, it feels like ETSU, even if they're not face-to-face with their opponent, they can't be winning out these fights. But you do have a redeeming factor. Sniper's had some good starts on some of these rounds. Ace has had some great opportunities, some really good points every now and again. But overall, I mean, you just look at the consistency. It's not there for these good plays. It's not there for those first bloods. It's more so there for, when, as we mentioned earlier, 3 takes. But this round is going to be a different thing. Already mentioned to get so many kills with this eco in hand, but it comes down to a Thok and a clutch play in a 1v2 scenario. Already goes ahead and funnels up that Armageddon back towards through from inside B over back towards main. Knows that no player's going to be there, and it's seeing whether or not anybody's going to funnel out of sight and try to go for something tricky to maybe run into them. But he understands that after that, they're all either going to be tucked away where you see one, which is RB in that corner, or it's going to be somewhere else. back towards main more than likely or on that heaven play. But already finding one, you understand it's the KJ. The swarm nades are on that site. The turret set up for it. You know the players around the corner. You only got 3 bullets, brother. You can't draw that fight out. And unfortunately, you give ETSU a second. But at the end of the day, your team's already locked down 9, and you make sure that they can't get any more than 3.
That totally. And I think one of the things I'm noticing here is the 7 ults online here for both teams. We have 3 ults, only 1 invested from Ithaca, trying to make that or use that Armageddon to get that retake, but they were actually able to save that orbital strike and that lockdown into this next round. The only one they used was the one they actually didn't have online at the start of the round. Zenith picking up the orb, popping that rolling thunder, and getting those eco frags to get them to that second round. But as we do see 7 ults online, I definitely want to see maybe even there's fake potential for the side of ETSU, as I haven't seen a lot of fakes from them. Spider drones coming in early, and Sniper finds the first one to Doofus Burst, finally getting the timing. Ithaca with a great trade, and there we go. We see that lockdown come through. These players pushed off these angles, and a lot of utility exchange, but I don't hate how ETSU has started this round.
I mean, no, it's not bad. It's not great. It's not really good. It just feels relatively neutral, but you got to think about the investment more than anything else. The lockdown coming through, forcing these players kind of back, putting them back towards main. But even then, if you look at the minimap, it's still relatively spread. Snowflakes can't get onto site. Everybody over towards Arcade can, sure, but anything past that point, it just kind of feels like a null effect. You're trying to figure out what you can do here with all these ultimates being funneled out. Now that you mentioned, is this the point of use it or lose it? We've already seen a couple of them used, but still, it's USC. With more players on site, sitting out the Armageddon, funneling through, looking to maybe find a couple players, some damage off somebody, but it's still USC coming out the top of the end of it. Really just comes down to Ace, and with Skeleton in sight, you saw the guy's KDA. You know he's been on B the entire half, and he's going to feel a lot more comfortable here to win those fights in.
I loved the combination of utility there on that retake. You throw in the Steel Garden with the Rolling Thunder, so not only can you not see, you can't turn, you don't even have a weapon anymore to try to fire off a lucky shot. You send out that Cosmic Divide towards main as well. These players are so isolated with the levels of utility. I like how Snowflakes is actually, first, the understanding to buy that Sheriff early, understand the Steel Garden might be coming out, so we're going to want to buy that Sheriff to give us some more gunfight potential. Swings out, gets great timing, gets 2. Well, the kills just all fall USC's way. There's so much utility to fight through on that retake. And ETSU, I think, just went a little bit too fast, in my opinion. They weren't able to burn enough of the utility on the side of USC, understanding all the ultimates that were stacked. And so the retake was just too strong and too fast and too potent for them to deal with.
Yeah, with a 10-2 start, I mean, obviously USC, I mean, as we mentioned earlier, this is ETSU's map selection, and USC is the one who's just flying by this thing with just beautiful colors. I mean, seeing how it's going so far, it's a new half, it's a new day, but I mean, even then more so, it's not a new map. It's not that refresh that you want. It's not that fresh start, a 0-0, get a chance to be on the board, new beginnings, you know, the grass is always greener type situation, is even then still, whether you're on whatever half, it doesn't really matter. USC is cleaning up house. They're funneling players out, not only with the barrels and the triggers of their own weapons, but utility as well, where ETSU, once again, as we mentioned in that prior half, just don't even see players and they're dropping.
I think those kills early on were just perfect, and then able to pivot over. The utility was key. Even on a pistol round, you have that utility and that awareness to catch out the player on site with those guided salvos and just trap him into the point where he feels like he has to fight. And a flawless pistol round for USC. They're attacking half looking just as dominant as their defending half. They're showing great prowess on this map. And as you mentioned, this is ETSU's map pick. So you got to rally on the map after this. At this point, you got to be getting, maybe get some rounds for confidence, to get your mental back, to get your confidence back. But every single gunfight's going the way of USC, and all the mind games are going that way as well. The IGL just having a masterclass of a field day here, just rotating around the map, playing ETSU like a fiddle, you know, just completely like a puppet master in the map. I love the way they're taking the space, controlling the space, and heading into this next round, we do see a force out for ETSU. Stingers and Spectre are going to try to make something work as they push out B.
I mean, it's a desperate attempt. I mean, it's really all they got left. They understand they end up losing this round. This is the point to go ahead and force it, see if they can maybe manage something. But they've just done nothing but run laps around these players. With all the sound of the utility going behind them, it gives free leeway here from USC to say, we still have the man up. We still have better guns. We still have the stance. And better yet, they also got the spike down. You've given them that chance. Doofenshmirtz has already caught off Snowflakes on sight. And now they know Sniper's on the flank. And, well, Kanataka can hit anything a little bit, can get a lot of good damage, and in a 4v2 scenario, it comes down to the Bulldogs and whether or not they can clean up the job, and they can't. ETSU managed to get themselves one more round to play with, but it is a very, very long road to even get to a stance where they think they can manage something.
Yeah, with that force, with Snowflake somehow falling, I thought Snowflakes had a great timing unchecked on the top of site there. Doofenshmirtz just rips the head off of Snowflakes there as they try to get aggressive, try to take a fight. But the fast flood, I like the aggression, and I think the aggression is going to be one of the keys to getting some more rounds on this pistol round or on this defensive half, 1,000%, because you gotta use the aggression and use that space because you can't hold 4 lanes at once with 5 players. Realistically, you're going to run into 1vx situations all the time. So understanding that you have to take that aggression, take that space, and I hope to carry that over even into some of the weaker buys and buy rounds later on to try to take some space, get some confidence back, and get some of those gunfights falling your way.
Yeah, one more round here for USC, looking to go ahead and get themselves into a match point if they can at any point in time. But I mean, it just really comes down to whether or not they can actually execute these kills. But they are not stressed about time at all, knowing that there is plenty of it for them to just go ahead and manage at least one more, and better yet, 2 to close things out. But I mean, the guns here aren't going to be the timing. It's not going to be the place, not going to be the arsenal in hand. But, I mean, still, this gives a point for ETSU to at least wake up, kind of give themselves a bit of a confidence boost, considering that they do have an entire another map to play that they need to come back from. They need to be able to just bring this thing back, at least draw out that stamina of USC, understand and put that respect on the field, saying, we can fight, we can exchange, we can make trades. We are a team who's made it this far, and we should be at that level playing field to you. Who cares what the discrepancy of the seedings? It's really big, yeah. But if you're going to be a rising star team going to playoffs and have a chance against the Tier 1 guys, you got to do a heck of a lot better than that right now.
I agree. Looking at this round, though, I love the min-maxing here with the utility going for those ult orbs early on and actually able to get the spike plan down. So much value extracted as they get the first pick for USC. And ETSU, this is not a post-fight you want to lose. Nice shot from Zenith to go ahead and convert the first. And heading off of that, they are going to try to attempt this retake. Great utility to push out Lychee, 14 HP. Not a lot you can do. This flooding up from both Gen and Canteen. Skeleton does have an upgrade here. Has a Bulldog, has to go absolutely heroic. And Arbat just going to shut it down off rip. Doofenshmirtz from behind. The player to watch is going to fall after getting one as well. And the heroics do not convert. Arbat closing out the round. And it looks a little bit scary there for a second, but a lot of value extracted by USC. I love the discipline, the min-maxing there, going for those ultimate orbs, working towards... And look, Steel Garden already online. We're on round 3, and we have a Steel Garden online, even though you lost the second round and the third round, you have it in for the fourth. And I mean, Doofenshmirtz 2 away from that showstopper, Ithaca 2 away from that Armageddon, and just the way they're controlling the map, going for that 4 ult orbs and taking full advantage to rack up those ultimates and start cycling them. USC has just been playing this really well, even though it's 11-4. I think they're gonna probably close this map out soon.
I mean, that's Fracture for you. I mean, just looking to go ahead and utilize whatever you can, manage to collect whatever you can there in the process. You mentioned the showstopper. I mean, we see the Armageddon, this same exact situation. Whether or not that's going to funnel players out and kill them, I mean, it really just has a lot of variability for what can be managed there, so long as Doofenshmirtz. I mean, we see this guy. He's constantly in the middle of absolutely everything. So this could be the round where they say, understandably so, we don't really have the best guns in the world, or this is the first fight we've had here in a minute. So this should be the point that we can really nail it home, because guess what? That's the difference we've seen in terms of the duels matchup. Doofenshmirtz has been a heck of a lot more consistent in pushing and finding these first bloods. And you've seen the backup from the rest of the team. You've seen the support. You've seen the assistance. And, well, they get the spike down immediately afterwards. It's that window of time they understand they have to take advantage of. And guess what? They're already on site with that spike down, waiting for that thing to count down, understandably putting the point, saying, ETSU, come and get it, buddy. We showed you how to do it all last half. You just need to repeat that. And they're just not doing it.
And it's, the kills all fall in the way of USC. A flawless as the paint shells converts the last. And that Steel Garden that they unlocked, that they forced to try to get that previous round, farming those ultimate orbs, getting the spike plan down, is literally going to be the key. Because Snowflakes, all isolated there, the top frag for the side of ETSU, but just a classic, and getting run down by Dr. Doofenshmirtz. 21-8, showstopper online here, Armageddon as well. They have the stronger buy against the desperate force from ETSU. This is their last hurrah. This is their, go big or go home. Bladestorm's online for Sniper, and he needs to go absolutely heroic here. They have so many ultimates and so much pressure to deal with, and I'd love to see just a fast execute, not allow a lot of space taking from ETSU. And it looks like they're going to be starting off over in Maine with the Spider Drone going through Sands.
I mean, they have a bit of a split, a default going through here, but even more so when you look at what they're doing, I mean, it's a great thought process. They understand that we have 2 AoE ultimates that all do damage, so let's go ahead and find the smaller side. Go to the one, make him feel suffocated, put him in a situation where even if they do want to kind of run around, they're not going to have the chance. But still, when you get the first one out, you lost the showstopper. You still have the Armageddon. You think you can use as a way to kind of compensate for that lack of players, but it's just not working out for you. Everybody here on USC dropping almost instantaneously. It's down to the last 2, but they could get the job done. Ladingas can go ahead and manage maybe a couple, but it's all down to Lychee in a 1v2. Looking to see with that Cause of Divide in hand, it's another one of those desperate scenarios where you say, go ahead and throw it out, compensate for something. This isn't an ultimate that can compensate for anything. It just gives you space. It gives you some breathing room. And with Sniper having that Bladestorm in hand, knowing where Lychee is, you're just holding this thing down. Honestly, I'm surprised the guy hasn't just pressed up and right-clicked. And even then, still so, making it really darn close for ETSU here to barely scratch by and have one player remaining to win that thing out.
Zenith unloading all the utility there onto Lychee in that corner. Great movement from Sniper to find out the position of Lychee and just eliminate the possibility of a bit of confusion or stab in the back. And somehow Lychee still couldn't get the first and almost made that round fall apart for the side of ETSU. And I think it comes down to that gunplay there a little bit too. All the shots landing for the side of USC, but the hold was great there. Snowflakes gets one around the corner in Sands and just another through the smoke. The awareness from Snowflakes on point to get those kills, and then they had their team ready to help. And I really like the way ETSU played that round. Great awareness, great trades, and great, sight hold. They kept the space, and then they adapted to the Armageddon we mentioned before. Not a lot of value found off that for USC. And this next round, it does look like they're going to aggress B, which I don't hate, but USC has decided to pivot back towards A main.
Well, 3 ultimates on the board. That showstopper wasn't invested in that last round, so the same kind of rule applies to this one. Look to utilize that in a smaller site, especially off the back of a Rolling Thunder, a Cause of Divide, to give yourself that free plan off the back of it as well. I mean, there's a lot of chances here. Knowing Skeleton's alive and well, able to go ahead and manage one to get things kicking off here for the site. The spike has been planted, and once again, with the Tejo alive, with the showstopper in hand, the Rolling Thunder to work with, there is a lot of denial here, and there's a lot of time that can be killed. But speaking of kills, Zenith's already found one. Looking to go ahead, find that push, but Athaka's not going to let that happen because that's the guy that's got to live on top of the showstopper. You need to go ahead and throw this rocket out. You need to find players to get damage, and they've done exactly that in a 1v1 scenario. Who more than Athaka to understandably shut down A, saying, it's between us Tejos. It's a mirror matchup, but my team has an 8-round differential on top of you, making it pretty darn clear who the winner of that map was. I mean, with the rounds and how things were going, how things were playing, it's at that point where we mentioned ETSU could not find really any consistency, any kind of scenarios where they got bloods given to them. And then when it comes around to chaos and when the dust kicks up, we always saw USC have more players available by the end of it.
I think one of the biggest things there, as you mentioned, the players available, the trades from USC were immaculate. They were always there with their teammate, always finding the value. So even if you lose your duelist off rip, you're going to have the other players coming in to help to find the trade and get the value returned. Whereas a lot of times I saw Sniper, even if it was due to device utility or whatever else, they didn't have the right game plan to send Sniper in with help. So Sniper was left isolated, left in a 1v3 situation. You can't swing around, kill 3 players at once, no matter how good you are, unfortunately. You can't look 3 places at once, and Sniper just got punished for it. So I think just adjusting your game plan a little bit, heading into Haven, understanding that it's not your map pick, but I'm sure you played it before, you practiced it before. How are you going to adapt? How are you going to overcome this one? And, GG go next. You got to wipe your slate, and you have to have that confidence heading into map 2 if you're wanting to reverse sweep this.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, considering what happened there, I mean, obviously ETSU has to go ahead and take a break, at least mentally, to go ahead and kind of recover from that, understandably so, because with that being their map selection, I mean, this could be a collegiate special once more we see teams win the other map selection. But it's never in a discrepancy like this. It's never in a divide like this. It's always more so towards that 13-9, 13-8, where you see a little bit more fight there. But ETSU just maybe they're just not waking up today. But they get a little bit of time. They get a little bit of a break coming up. They can go hit the bathroom, get a bit of water, get a snack, and possibly you two as well in the audience because, well, map number 2 is going to be here once I'm in on the end of this break. Catch you then. Depending on what side of the coin you look at, or better yet, what team you're rooting for, 13-5 is either great or terrible, considering, obviously, you talk about Fracture, ETSU, and the fact it was their selection, and they're the ones who ended up coming out with 5 rounds at the end of it. I mean, Map number 2 Haven is underway. It is going to be coming here within the next minute, but it's got to be a lot. It's got to be an absolute turnaround, considering that if you want to take this thing to the distance and you want to go to that ice box that you selected, you want to get that practice in, you got to earn it. And ETSU, they're the ones with the ball in their court.
And I'm really interested to see if that might affect their agent comp. Maybe mix it up. That single duelist didn't work great for them. They weren't able to take space. And Haven is not a map where double duelist is totally unusual, right? We see a lot of duelists come out on Haven, duelists that you may not have seen before in a lot of other maps. We've seen ISOs, Yorus, Jets, of course. And we saw Sniper comfortable on that Jet, might go for that pick again. But a lot of these agents I'm really excited to see. And then one of the other things I want to see is the initiators, because we've seen a lot of Sova on Haven. And Sova is like the time-old classic initiator pick. You send those recon bolts out towards A lobby from both sides every single round. But what we have seen at higher levels, tier 1 and tier 2, is that Tejo breach that we saw run before. So if they run those comps with those aggressive duelist players, they get really aggressive in it from either team. I could see either team running either of these comps based on these play styles. And I think ETSU has to be ready no matter what, and pick some agents that they're comfortable enough on where you can adapt and overcome whatever USC is doing, and understanding the 3-site map, how you want to adapt and how you want to take control of this map. Because this map, you need to be dominant, take it by storm, even if it's not your map pick, and just bring it home to Icebox if you want that reverse sweep.
Yeah, most definitely do. I mean, ETSU, when it comes around to the first map, I mean, there was a lot there that was kind of slipping through the cracks, not only just in terms of the actual positioning and understanding of the map just in general, but I mean, seeing the kind of fights that were going through, they just always felt one-sided. Whether it came down to the retakes, whether it came down to the actual initial picks, first bloods around the map, there's a lot there ETSU just weren't really getting in. As you mentioned, I mean, at the end of the game, it was trades as well. Things weren't going too hot for him. But, I mean, it was because you just had just an absolute unit of a team able to go ahead and find so many consistent frags. But ahead of that was Dr. Doofenshmirtz, the one who was on that raise when it came around to the Fracture pick. And now that you're seeing a bit of a different map selection here, you're seeing a different role out of the guy. You're seeing him swap over to the Sova, which is insane to think of, knowing that, I mean, obviously we see teams and we know that they feel comfortable playing a particular role and kind of switch things up there. But I mean, when you talk about comfortability, I mean, this has to be an absolute showcase of that. Of maybe Doofenshmirtz, we're not really quite sure, considering the sample pool, whether this is an initiator player who loves Raze or a duelist player who just really loves Sova. Now, the way you look at it is dangerous to think about.
And I'd ask the same question for Sniper. Switch from that Jet to that Sova as well. And from the side of ETSU, we see that ISO Yoru combo I was just talking about come out. So I'm very excited to see how that plays in with the Sova Sniper, switching off that duelist role after not loving it the first map, and has decided to go ahead and pivot to Initiator. That ISO Yoru and then classic Omen Cypher. We've seen those picks so many times. Both teams running those, and both teams running the Sova. And the difference here is in those last two picks. Ladingus is going to be running that Breach, Lychee with that Jet, and then the ISO Yoru. So two completely different last picks that I think completely change the structure and sort of mindset of both of these agent compositions.
Yeah, I mean, just even then, better yet, when you look at who is swapped over off the duelist, you got to look at who's swapped onto it. I mean, we look at Lychee, who was playing that Astra in the last map, now opting in and being that just a Jet player, and the sole Jet player, better yet, the sole duelist on that team. So it's going to be a bit of an interesting kind of look at to see what ETSU is going to be bringing to the board here, better yet, on their end of stuff. They want to play a little more aggressive, knowing that they have now two duelists. They're going to have to make sure to find that well of confidence we mentioned prior to this map relatively early, because when you see the shots that were going through during that last one, it was Snowflakes, the Sentinel, who was the top frac team, consistently hitting more shots, holding things down, feeling like this is the one who could really be the most clutch player on the squad. And when you look at everyone else, you're saying, are we really sure this is who we want on duelist? Well, it kind of has to be, because it's locked in. It's round number one, and you got guns in hand, so there is no takesies, backsies at this point.
Recon Bulls coming out towards the A side, as we've seen time and time before, and ISO wall to put some question marks early on, and then they're going to pivot over towards the C site. Now here comes the C executes, and Skeleton just holding it down once again, going to get a gate crash in the face, but takes down Zenith. Not fully blind there, gets another onto Ace, and looking for more, runs out of bullets. But Ladingus there for the help, gets one, gets two. Skeleton closes it off, and that is not the start you want to see for ETSU, getting absolutely reamed coming out of that C main fight right into the crosshairs of Skeleton.
Yeah, I mean, this makes perfect sense. If there's anybody who's going to open things up, because we talked about all these changes, this is the two players who hasn't really had one. Ladingus on the exact same character that we saw during map number 1. Skeleton in the same exact role, just going from, as I mentioned earlier, that Vice and that Cypher, relatively interchangeable, considering that you're just kind of had that same play style. Sometimes you're getting a little more aggressive off the back of those flashes. Sometimes you're sitting back and waiting for tripwires to do all the work for you. No matter what, it's that understanding that is there. It's not a role swap. It is purely just game knowledge and knowing where you're supposed to be at the right time. And we've seen out of both of these players that they can do that.
Outlaw now posted up over towards A long from Lychees, and it's going to get aggressive, try to take a fight, and no value found as the first couple of shots, first clip is rattled off, and they're going to take some space here. That ISO could be key to taking down that Outlaw. That shield making it very dangerous, but it does look like they're going to slow down as the shield falls. Pivot over towards mid a little bit, where walking up towards B, we do have the Cypher player taking space. Snowflakes is going to be looking to contest this, maybe get an early pick, and they're regressing short at the same time. I don't hate this from ETSU. They're trying to take fights, poke holes, and find the space. Unfortunately, Lychee is going to punish by getting the first onto Sniper. Snowflakes, though, get Skeleton walking off, and that's a good pickup there for ETSU.
Yeah, it's, I mean, the best exchange they're going to have, really, in terms of this round, when you see the upgrade from a Classic onto a Bulldog, everything past that point, you understand that now players are going to be funneling towards that middle of the map in exchange. That A site's already been held down. We've already seen the pick go through there, so they understand that A is going to be the hit. And even then, better yet, with that Dark Shroud there towards B, that's not going to be it either. It just comes down to more so, what does that leave you with? C. So Ledithok is set up there. Sure, there will be an exchange. There'll be one player dead, but it's Ace with no utility in hand and 100 just pure health to work with in this kind of situation in 1v3, and you got to be flawless in this to get it done. And it's going to be difficult to do when you see that, well, a Guardian's going ahead and wrap it around you to close things out as that second round comes to a conclusion. So nice little diverse and kind of arsenal to be playing with, and the Guardian, the Outlaw, and the Bulldog carrying into the next. But it's only 2 rounds, and even then with the third one underway, we saw that, well, USC were able to do it once. Considering what they got in their hands and whether or not they can find those initial bloods, they could manage to do it once more.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the round 3 didn't go the way of ETSU, and if I'm ETSU, you can't allow that to happen again. You cannot fall to another round 3 loss. You cannot go down to a 3-0 deficit after the first map. But you got to fight A fast and hard here. If that's what you're choosing, you got to do it well. Doffer Duke first, and Lychee going to try to aggress here a little bit, but great utility to slow them down. And I think you have to take the space fast or decide to rotate, because you see 3 players are already here for the side of USC. They're aware of this potential location, and Lychee getting punished, but great help from Dr. Doofenshmirtz. And the way that USC has been helping their teammates and navigating the map, US gonna get another one. Sniper falls as well. No scope from the Outlaw, not gonna land.
Oh.
But landing's gonna get 3. Ace with the trays has to go absolutely heroic. Needs the 4K here in the 1v2 to get this round. Both these players on the CT side, and it's a lot to ask for.
Well, most definitely doable with the double tap active now, actually falling in the process, but even then still hasn't really been even tainted in the meantime. Ooh. Hasn't had a single dot of health negated in the meantime, even then more so. It still has that vulnerability in hand to work with to find some level of aggression and push things out. Well, you know that the rotations were already made. You know the players already allocated towards the A side. Even then, there's a big question mark here for Skeleton as well. Knowing that there are guns to pick up, there is a chance inside this fight, and knowing that the only thing that could really come in your direction would be more than likely another ultimate forcing that 1v1. That's a better circumstance than anything. That's not going to be whipped out here, because you're saying, okay, what do I do in this situation? Do I make it a predictable 1v1, or do I find the element of surprise? And, well, the latter's a much better option considering the circumstances.
Ace being the dominant force for ETSU here, absolutely topping off the leaderboard. 5-2, has the kill contract on as well, but the rest of the team really struggling to find value early on here. That flood into the A side just completely punished, and if a couple more shots, a couple randomization of the Outlaw no scope falls the way of USC, they don't get that round. They go to a 3-0 deficit, and that round, that's not a good sign for ETSU for letting those rounds get that close, get down to a matter of just an Outlaw no scope to find those initial picks. The trades and just the help from USC, the fundamentals of this game are just so much stronger so far. And I want to see ETSU kind of slow down, breathe a little bit, and understand that you can take the space. And Ace saying, fine, if I have to ace every round, I'll do it myself. Lychee falls early on.
I mean, he was one of the guys that we saw during the last map actually able to manage to get those kills. Was on the Tejo, wasn't on a duelist during that map. So, I mean, was in the situations where you could really swing for yourself and ask for the assistance off the back of your teammates because you can take that space quickly enough. But everything else still looking relatively good. Skeleton, even then knowing that the Yoru's there, knowing that more than likely the gate's going to be going towards the back of that map, looking to take that space for as much as you can and just give yourself something to play off of to circumnavigate the site. But already ETSU having good reads in terms of these exchanges, knowing where these guys are be coming from, hitting the necessary shots we mentioned earlier, because now that you've done a bit of a rule change for the rest of your team, things should be working out for you, because the guy we mentioned and highlighted already during that last round, 4K on the one prior, 3K here. I mean, he's not going to get an ace every single round, but at least the one so far he's managed to knock out the majority.
Great playing from Ace, great gunplay, but I want to highlight something here that's very scary for Zenith as the Euro player. Skeleton is adapting and adapting fast. He had that tripwire over towards the backside position, towards that box in the back, and that's actually just going to completely punish that gate crash play there because Zenith is just going to walk into it after he TPs and gets spammed down by Skeleton. Great awareness to understand that that's where he plays. Punished it up close and personal there with the face shot before, and now has that tripwire. So you got to be very careful as the Euro TPing. How are you going to make this work? But on this lighter buy, it does look like USC is going to be trying to extract value, and the kill contract coming in from Ace to start this off.
Well, not much of an intimidator when it comes around to looking specifically at one of the duelists, but now with that other one being shut down, which more specifically is Ace, that guy who's got the majority of the kills every single round so far hasn't really got anything done here, but Zenith is able to go ahead and pick up the ropes and get the same job done. It's almost Dr. Do for Spurts was able to find that kill, find the exchange.
Wow.
Zenith, we talk about Ace. The guy couldn't find an ace, but Zenith may be able to manage to do just that. You're in a 1v4 situation. I wouldn't blame this guy to go ahead and push out, knowing that guns are scattered all about, but they're all going to be shared, so it's going to be that same exact kind of matchup you would expect from every single player thus far. So good looks here from ETSU. Nice little string of rounds being put together so far. They just got to keep it going, and Zenith is there to do it. 3 rounds on the board, making sure they get themselves the lead, all collectively back to back to back. So, I mean, good stance for them to get things rolling, get themselves on the board. And if USC make an adaptation, I mean, with this next buy round, it's going to be very critical to them. They at least already have something, and it's not taking long for them to at least find some presence here on the field.
I think, as you mentioned, this next round is instrumental, but Zenith just absolutely flying around the weaker buy of USC. I believe, if not 4, then at least 3 gate crashes used that round, just jumping all over, up B, towards A-Link, behind the players, then looking left and right. Maybe these low-sense players struggling to even look around fast enough, and Ithaca taking that aggression, uses the dark cover on window, and tries to take that fight. But in the end, the kills and the trades fall the way of ETSU. Somehow a little bit of a rarity from USC where they're not actually going to be able to trade out and help their team even equalize, but fall to a player deficit. Dimensional Drift is going to go ahead and be popped, A-Link control taken, and meanwhile, Snowflake's very well Lychee's lurk.
Yeah, good looks here. I mean, able to find every single timing that's necessary. Even then, Zenith, once again, now finally kind of getting on the board. And the ace off that last round, you can tell the confidence is transferring around base. It's just continuing, being persistent. And that's what you need out of the other duelists, because Ace was kind of a solo showcase so far. But who's another showcase? None other than Skeleton. We've seen the player do it before. I talked about the clutch ability. I talked about this player can get managed. And, well, unfortunately, while the shots were good for some of them, the bullets weren't left in the mag for the rest. As you find that mirror matchup not going your direction and going up against the other, well, top frag when it came around the last map being Snowflakes.
I love the way that ETSU is manipulating the map, taking the space, finding those early picks, and converting those trades. Absolutely disciplined and fundamentals I want to see. They've converted 4 rounds in a row, but if I'm ETSU, I'm still scared because you can be in those 1v3 or 3v1 post-plant situations, and the way players are shooting for the side of USC, you can never be too safe. You can never be out of the danger zone. You're still always worried if someone can Skeleton pop off, do more bullets there, maybe Skeleton wins that round, break this round streak, but because of that, once again, USC has to go on a save round, and they got to be getting a little concerned here. They're unable to hold space against this team as all the kills are falling the way of ETSU, and things just aren't working out.
No, they're not. I mean, starting on this defense, I mean, this is the same exact side they started on in the last map, and it's not nearly the same kind of momentum that we noticed earlier. I mean, they're just kind of going ahead, not really getting on the initial picks they want. ETSU seems a lot more collective. They seem a lot more cohesive, better yet, in terms of their executions and kind of being together and providing this assistance. Where Fracture was maybe just kind of a bit of a decision paralysis for them, quite frankly, because they weren't really there. But on Haven, you got a lane. You just got to push up that lane. And we have seen ETSU doing just that. While you have a bit of a curveball there out of maybe one player or the other, the execution's still all the same. Press W, hit your shots, and I think when you got a double duelist here on the attacking side, I would hope they can manage to do that much.
My only concern with that double duelist is if you're going to struggle a little bit more defensively, you want to definitely rack up as many rounds as you can on this attacking half while you have the momentum in your favor. But if you're the side of USC, this round is your round to take and win and destroy the momentum ETSU. You have Rolling Thunder from the Shadows, Hunter's Fury, and you're one off that Blaze Storm as well. You have 5 guns across the board, rifles to destroy this attack, and you got to do it, and you got to do it fast. You got to understand it's A default and fight it, and Ace down to 1 HP off of that after not popping the double tap. And this round is the one I want to see USC win because I think it's the round they need to win.
It's felt like that for the past 3 so far, especially for the players inside the server, but still plenty of time here to work with. And as you mentioned, plenty of pieces of utility to play with to get that job done. But it really comes down to the start. Where are these guys at? What kind of tricks are they going for? And even then, it's not much of an actual bag of tricks so far, as you do see the gate crash going ahead, being thrown out. But it's a first blood on the side of USC, and the rest of it is probably there to follow. Look at Ace. Look at Zenith. Both relatively low. Ace goes ahead and gets picked off. Lychee sitting on site and feeling like he is getting warmed up. Able to manage to get 3 in the process. Avladingus there to go ahead and clean up for that buddy Ace on the round, and there you go. A chop up shop is what it is over there towards A, where ETSU finally noticed that, okay, they can win rounds past the pistol and past the one afterwards. There is potential here in this team. We just got to see it a little bit sooner and a little bit more consistently. But with this half coming soon to a conclusion, I mean, there's chance for, once again, as we mentioned, ETSU to falter on the defensive end.
I think one of the biggest things here, we talked about those role switch at the start of this map. We talked about how a lot of these teams, players had gone from a different role, duelist to initiator, smokes to duelist. So I think they're settling into their roles a little bit better now. And I'm liking the gameplay I'm seeing from both teams across the board. Honestly, great executes from the side of ETSU, great holds from the side of USC. Skeleton absolutely dominant, of course. And once again, another dimensional drift. And that's such a powerful piece of utility. If they're going to try to combo that with the Hunter's Fury, Skeleton just spam down through the smoke. Great play there to take down the Sentinel, take down the site. The C site is ETSU's taking.
And it's USC's for the retake, better yet. I mean, looking at ETSU and seeing how they've gone ahead and just at least made some kind of investment to get there, I would not blame USC to go ahead and make the same exact relative investment to get back on. With the Rolling Thunder already going through, the Blade Storm being popped early at the start of the round, it comes down to what can your Jet manage to do. And Lychee just goes ahead, spams all those things out, can't get much done off the back of it. With Snowflakes being down lane and Sniper as well, it seems like easy pickings for these two. And it's nothing but Doofenshmirtz left. With the Rays, we've seen this guy clean up player after player after player in situations where everybody's lining up. And even then, maybe here in lane, that could be the lineup we're talking about. It really just comes down to Sniper, whether or not he can hit that, because these are the two duelists matched up in the last one. But the spike is down, time is ticking, utility is all over the place, and you just don't find the time of day to press that 4 key long enough.
That's real phantom moment there, actually, for the side of Doofenshmirtz. Going to hit that 140 on the head of Sniper, but it doesn't matter because the body doesn't fall and the time is ticking down. It looked like it was promising for a second, but I don't think the value was really found off of that Rolling Thunder in the way I would have liked. They were not able to convert and find the kills on the players that were concussed, that were stunned up. I don't think they had the players there to really flood. Great tripwire from Snowflakes and Garage as well to slow down that push, allowing him to live on site, get those kills. And I like that post-plant levels that they have to slow down the retake. And Zenith trying to do a fake decoy through the stinky ear. Oh my goodness, Skeleton shuts it down immediately. Zenith, very ambitious play. And I don't know if that was the right call.
I mean, there's times for ambition, there's time for innovation, and it really just comes down to whether or not you find some success or not, and Zenith just couldn't really manage it there. Already, USC getting that initial first blood that they want, obviously, but looking to kind of fight back and make sure that they don't find themselves in nearly the same deficit as what we saw during that last match. That was a 10-2 half. USC's already broken that threshold, came out above the pack in that regard, but everything past this point is purely up to them. Can they continue it? And as they knock down another player, and ETSU's just running through, it's still an even exchange, all things considered, with the 3v3 in hand and Skeleton making sure that it's not going to be like that for much longer. So with the singular ex-duelist here playing the game with the Hunter's Fury in hand, they know he's over towards A.
didn't know he's going to be in this roundabout. He's going to be playing this lap here on B, not coming back from garden, not right down the middle of the map. And even then with the bullet spraying in that direction from the A site, you know he's not wrapping you because there's not enough time to do it, but has a lot of utility to get this job done if you feel like it.
Missing in the recon bolts off rip to try to start off this retake is going to get actually some good scans. Try to step to get some safety, play the 2v1 properly on the side of RB, and Sniper shuts it down. But one of the things from ETSU actually I really liked is what we were talking about in the last map that USU was doing exceptionally. The trades, the fundamentals of this game where if I see a kill from USC in the kill feed, I'm seeing that player die very, very soon after. And I'd love to see that for ETSU as they're trying to get their confidence back, trying to get it going, where sure, you might be losing a gunfight, right? But you're not letting that punish you too much. You're getting the trade back, you're getting your get back. And that's the key here, is making sure you're able to equalize those rounds. So with the trades falling the way of ETSU and the aggression coming out from both Zenith and Ace, this attacking half has looked very solid, and this is the best ETSU team we've seen today.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely feeling a lot more in form. I mean, even then, as I mentioned earlier, it really comes down to whether or not are we seeing a duelist player kind of flex out for a single comfortable pick when it comes down to the initiator, or are we seeing an initiator player just feel more comfortable in that singular duelist? I mean, it's just kind of what came first, the chicken or the egg. And I mean, ETSU, they look much better in this form in terms of the comfortability, in terms of what they're doing, in terms of utility. But even then more so, the map, as I mentioned earlier, is looking to play in their strengths a lot more so and kind of standardize the entire execution for them. Because as I mentioned earlier in Fracture, it seemed like they were suffering from decision paralysis. They were looking for things. They were trying to figure stuff out. It just wasn't really ever working out for them. And even then, there's too many variables to really factor in there. Is it timing? Is it just chance? Is it we just didn't put enough players there? There's so many things to think about. Meanwhile, on Haven, you can just all in 5-man on one point of the map. And if it doesn't work there, you say, we try that somewhere else. Or we just double down and do it again because we're learning from it, because the defaults are so much more standardized here that it makes it so much easier to make a read off.
Great recon from Doofenshmirtz with that ladder buy, but coming out of that timeout, they're definitely going to want to pivot, as you mentioned, to getting some more of these rounds. Decoy is actually going to hit that trip, and the paranoia, great paranoia to stall, help the players here back sight. Looking to combo that utility, Doofenshmirtz is the first, traded out, an ace. Shuts down Skeleton as well. A couple of the kills not falling the way of USC. The US trying to make it work, trying to make something happen. But as we mentioned before, the trades are all falling the way of ETSU. They may be losing these players, but they're getting the trades back. And now a 1v2 for Leshi to try to make something happen and try to do some heroics to get them to 4.
Exactly where you are.
But the Neural Death is going to make it tough.
Really tough here. Knowing that, I mean, even though you can already see it there, Elijah looking to back up a little bit, knows that, I mean, it's probably too much of a problem. But a 1v2, I mean, this is very doable. So as you know, that tripwire, there it goes. Recon dart goes out. You know the player's already back towards lane. I mean, that was a given, but where exactly? Well, it may not even matter. Eventually, that duelist is going to push up, and Snowflakes, if anybody, very much makes sense for that to be the one to be aware, to find those picks and go ahead and close things out there. So, I mean, last round of the half, this is the point where we see all the ultimates being whipped out with all the Neural Theft available on the side of USC. Kind of close when it comes around to that Rolling Thunder, but I don't think we're going to be seeing anything else from them. ETSU are going to be the ones who definitely have a leg up here.
Like that kill contract, if the Ace is able to convert it this time, get that early pick and get that numbers advantage. But I want to mention the utility usage here from the side of ETSU. Very coordinated. I wonder if some of these players are on more comfortable roles now, because it's very fast utility, very coordinated. Even in that 2v1 retake, and Ace is going to get the first there for the side of ETSU, trying to bring them to a 9-round scoreline with their double duelist confidence attacking half. But they do have a Sentinel to fight through.
Yeah, that's just so much here to go up against. I mean, considering you have found yourself an exchange as a good start, not too much. One of the duelists out of the game, kill contract, not really managing anything off the back of it, but here is that Hunter's Fury. So long as you can see USC maybe manage to get themselves one, it's not super extended, and we're just waiting to see whether or not Ithaka, with that from the shadows, can create enough contention, enough chaos out of these guys to go ahead and find something. And one is all you need. Your job is done. Neural Theft comes through. That gives the assistance to the guy back in spawn, saying, I mean, I'm here to stall, right? That's exactly what I'm doing. You guys want to go ahead and rotate possibly? Maybe a second off the back of it? I mean, whatever's happening. The guy's held hostage. He needs help, and it finally has arrived, but it could be a moment too late because as some good damage goes down, it's a player and a half essentially left here out of the side of ETSU, but the rotations have been made, and it's purely down to Dingus on side of this big stone stack. And honestly, do they check it? That's the big question. Already swinging through, looking in that direction. They most definitely do, and RB is not ready for that trade.
I like the 4 rounds up from USC. Obviously, that half didn't go the way you wanted it to, but cutting off the momentum at the end of the half is going to give them some more confidence and some more, some more faith in their abilities heading into the second half. And I don't think that's a terrible thing here. But 8 rounds for ETSU, you want to hold on to this, and you don't want to give up too many more rounds here. You lost 13-5 on their map pick. You want to or on your map pick. You want to take their map pick and flip the tables here. You want to definitely get a dominant win. And a little bit of that utility coordination falling apart on that attacking round. I want to mention the shock dart actually from, I believe, the shock dart from Sniper coming after we have Zenith hitting the tripwire. So just a little bit of that coordination falling apart in that last round. And I think little things like that build up as USC is able to convert the kills off of it. So seeing if that plays a role in this second half or how the utility works out as USC is looking to apply some mid pressure.
Yeah, just looking for someone here. I mean, ETSU already going ahead and noticing a bit of a momentum shift just with them now being on the defense. Yeah, that double duelist, we were looking forward to kind of see how that manages to work here on the attacking or on the defensive side of things. And I mean, well, it hasn't really surmounted them much, but while it doesn't work well for actually holding on to these sites, it sure as heck works well for retaking it. And this is the situation they want to be in, all things considered. But do they have the timing, and better yet, do they have the player allocation to really get the job done? Because Ace is wrapping around through the A side, looking to see if anybody's going to be there, and Ladinga's going to be waiting for him. But I mean, already the exchange is made. Ace is shut down. Xena finds one sticking out. But even then, better yet, the kills are going purely in the way of USC. But the spike diffusal was going off that entire time for ETSU to manage to get themselves that first they were looking for.
I think one of the common themes of planning on that B site, like USC did, I like the utility getting into the site. I like the spike plant. But where I believe it fell apart was that 1 second after the post plant. You can't give up that much space on that B side. You can't give up both A link and C link. They tried to re-express Garage, but it was too little too late as the pinch from ETSU absolutely took over the B site. And then you just have layers and layers of utility. You send out those dark covers for his main, and that diffuse is so hard to do, especially with the composition that we have from USC. So you got to take one of the links. You got to take A link. You got to take C link. You got to take that space, take that control in order to control that map and slow down that retake a little bit. And I think that was one of the major misplays there from USC that lost them that pistol round.
Yeah, I mean, good looks there from ETSU, managing to get what they need, and even better yet, I mean, off the round like that, I mean, that hurts USC, because keep in mind, some of those players don't get that bonus money from dying. So they carry over those classics to the next opting, and then whether or not they actually want to buy themselves up a Sheriff or a Ghost or kind of double down in that regard. But I mean, even then, if you didn't die during that last round, you more than likely don't want to. So the ones who were dead, they may have something to play with here to kind of go ahead and compensate. But the ones who are alive, we can see already right here, not really looking too good. Lots of classics in the hands of these USC players looking to see what they can really manage here, and it's just not going to be much to start things off because Lychee is probably going to go down after Skeleton because with that 17 health remaining, yeah, it's just not enough to win out a fight there. But Sheriff and Athaka sitting over towards that A side, that's enough space to at least kind of get something working here.
Spike plant's going to be down as well. That is the one player towards A, and everything has kind of fell apart as the USC has taken, got the spike down. I think maybe even passed over the Sheriff there. So at least the Sheriff and Outlaw on the side of USC. And ETSU, you have to be careful with this retake. How do you play this? How do you do it? If that double tap is still available for Ace, I'd love to see him take first contact. And there we go. Sheriff without Ritaka, great awareness to understand how he needs to play this based off of that. Shield broken, and I love that swing from short to break the shield. Ace, though, still going to get the kill on Ritaka, who's going to be caught without a gun out. Now it is a 2v4 as they try to hold to the site, hold on to space. Nice kills, but the weaponry is just not there. A lot of damage done by USC, but the round's going to go ETSU's way.
I mean, making things relatively close, so all things considered. I mean, had the flashes, had all the utility there, had a couple of kills, made sure to cut down ETSU to at least 2 players. But I mean, even in that round still, I mean, it's one of those things that we saw reminiscent earlier when it came around to what ETSU was managing in the earlier stage of that last game. But it just wasn't enough there, and USC could be reminiscent of that. They kind of give me a bit of a flashback there, which is concerning to say. If you want this game to be relatively close by the end of it, the money is there and in these last 2 players' pockets. So, I mean, they should be getting these purchases in. Thank you very much. But, I mean, everything beyond that, it comes out of making sure to manage these first bloods, and better yet, I mean, just finding some initiative in the map. When you look at what ETSU is doing for this defensive setup, it's very much more tightly packed. You see a lot of players section themselves off towards that garage area, towards that C main, letting Ace kind of solo that lane just in case somebody does line up because you had that extra bullet to kind of have that survivability. But anything beyond that here, everywhere else around the map, it's a lot more confusing. You have the players already ready for that rotation, looking to get things done when it comes around to the A side. But better yet, when you look towards the middle, it is just nothing but results. I mean, USC could possibly find themselves a flawless off the back of this one. And that's going to be a great thing to say, look, we are sure as heck back in this thing.
The Outlaw not finding a ton of value either. Trying to get some more there, but Zenith just not going to go to convert. Spam down to 58 HP, and Skeleton with that wraparound is just going to be so dominant. That lurk through B, it was just immaculate. Found 3 kills off the back of it, and made any hopes that ETSU had of getting value out of that round completely gone. And not only did they not get that round, they didn't find a single pick. And I think at this point, USC is starting to establish that the weak side might be the A side for ETSU. They played very passive the last couple of rounds over towards that A side. And it does look like Snowflakes is going to switch over to try to pick up that slack, pick up that hole. But as you mentioned, I'm a little bit worried for any C garage aggression, because it does seem like that's what ETSU is expecting with that ISO survivability to be able to hold on to it. And it looks like on this buy phase, a mid rush is going to be the call.
Yeah, very tightly packed. You're going to hear all those feet clomping down the middle of the map, but even more so, is that going to cue a possible bit of a stall there to maybe take these fights back towards spawn, or is it going to do what we expect? USC is just going to probably rush the A side off the back of it. I mean, you already see the decoy coming through. You already know Snowflakes is there. You haven't seen the tripwire just yet, so you're not really quite sure if he's there or who the other player may be, but you do know that Ace is back in spawn, at least if you have the X-ray vision like we do. You go ahead and find an initial pick. Go ahead, make sure Thaka can't sneak to the middle of the map, but Lychee, this is the player you need to step up. The bottom frag for the majority of this game so far, being the duelist on that USC side, now has to step up. Because keep in mind, during that last map, it was Doofenshmirtz's highlight left and right here. But right now, the guy is possibly going to be in the same area to do the same thing. Already going ahead, finding 2, looking for a 3rd, and that's going to be the last one here. Because Ace, you know where the guy is coming from, but can you find the closure? You're waiting to see if that double tap dies down. Maybe don't want to give that free shot to anybody else, and there it is. Letting it diminish, going for the swing, utilize utility, overwhelm, and find results. And USC do that to find themselves with a nice, easy 6th.
I loved ETSU's early aggression there, but I want to highlight Skeleton. Man went on a marathon. He walked all the way up the C site, all the way through the spawn of ETSU, and then they were getting killed from their spawn as they tried to rotate from B over to A. That was just an immaculate lurk, understanding the holes in the maps as they're going to push up mid, knows his team is aggressing on A, and so was able to take that space towards C, just runs all the way through their spawn and absolutely destroys them with the knife in the back there. And Skeleton, the star of the show. But other than that little misplay, missing that hole on C, I do like how ETSU played that. You show the aggression mid, you don't see a contest, so you actually end up stacking the A site, knowing that they're probably going to pivot over there, and if not, you're going to retake towards C. But with this lighter buy now, they're just trying to look to extract as much value as they can. Skeleton getting the first. Ace is going to find 1, finds 2.
What's up?
Sheriff shots looking crispy, and a rifle upgrade as well.
Yeah, I don't know what the recon drone's really doing there now. I mean, Owl Drone isn't going to tell you much besides the fact that Ace is already there, and I mean, he's already shut down 2 players. The kill feed tells you everything you need in that part of the map, but even then, Athaka could not care less. Has a bit of a vengeance and a vindication to go ahead and get the revenge off that last round, and Skeleton is setting the tone there. Knows that, hey, over towards B, I've already cleared this thing out, so surely we can just get the spike down or make a rotate towards C. Who really knows? But the spike wasn't even available in the first place to get that job done. So maybe go at this from a different angle, or at least try, because, well, Skeleton, that player who found the kill earlier, can't manage to get the second. Doofenshmirtz is still alive, as I mentioned earlier. This is a duelist player who is now on the initiator. I mean, we've seen this lap around. We've seen this predicament. We don't really know what the comfort zone looks like, but RB is definitely one who's not comfortable in the situation you're in. In a 1v2 scenario, can't really do much because you are getting surrounded when you put yourself inside of a corner like that.
Great value for ETSU, though, on that save run, and I want to highlight one of the misplays, in my opinion, from USC. That from the shadows, as we saw, Skeleton gets like hit pick on B, and they're going to prop from the shadows to just go ahead and rotate that player over towards V. But with the spike down on side, that could have been a costly decision. Ace got these picks, got the spike, and because of that, that from the shadows was not saved to pick up the spike, but instead ended up being used to just pivot over. So if they were unable to reclaim that spike there, that round was one that could easily have gone ETSU's way. But for ETSU, you've lost 3 rounds in a row now. And 3 more, the scoreline will be equalized. Your lead is falling apart. And this round is one you're desperate to win.
I mean, a lot here to think about. But, I mean, still, regardless, USC, win or loss, a very good chance here so far. I mean, making sure that they're keeping things close. It's nothing like what we saw during that last map where things were a very large discrepancy. And even then seeing the kills going their way, I mean, Zenith is trying to body block Lychee to make sure they can't get out, but even then, you're just giving the guy one more. It's at that point where, I mean, honestly, it feels relatively worth it. Nathaka has also snuck up through Garage, that area that we talked about, the ETSU has allocated so many players towards on so many rounds, just completely gets dismantled. And once again, in a 1vx scenario, it is ETSU looking for a retake. Ace trying to stay alive, and he's going to hide on the opposite side of the map and saying, you take this one, buddy, because I don't want a piece of whatever's left.
I love the way that USC has been controlling the map. Their map control and awareness has been top tier, and they have the gunplay and trades to back it up. The way they have held onto this map, Skeleton has had, I don't think he's had one unsuccessful lurk. Whether it's B, Garage, or C, has found the hole every time in the defense when his team goes A. And off the back of that, they've just been very aware of every single flank. Skeleton has the trip bias. Not only that, just has the bigger brain in order to be aware of those players coming behind him, aware of the location, and every single flank hasn't gone in the favor of ETSU, I'm pretty sure, either. So that's some of the keys that I think is allowing USC to have such a dominant hold there. And as we saw that Dimensional Drift Hunter's Fury combo that they use on the attacking half, they tried to use again on the defensive side, but it ended up just going 2 for 2. Ithaca is not going to be able to punish Ace. But despite that, a lot of money for the side of USC. As you won 4 rounds in a row, your economy is absolutely steamrolling. I don't hate the hunt. I like the hunt there coming out from Ithaca. And if you're US or ETSU, I apologize. This is a force for sure, because you've got to cut off this momentum at some point.
Yeah, and I mean, I really don't know when they're going to be managing to do that. I mean, considering that the kill contract isn't up and available, I mean, we just saw the dimensional drift go through, and it didn't really find much of an effect there. If anything, it got Zenith killed, just trying to body block with it. And when you look at everything else available to him, it's just looking to kind of be ragtag everywhere. So Zenith is going to be going for something here. Owl Drone going out. You make the easy call to say, look, guys, pushing up close. Make sure you back up. Wait for that pick. And even then, it's an arsenal of players just allocated there waiting for this push to go through. I mean, some good damage already going through with that shock dart, looking to cut the guy off. And go ahead, keep swinging it, dude. You're going to learn your lesson eventually, because now with the gate crash going back towards spawn, it gives them an idea. You could have pushed up C for a second, but what else is going on? Where are these other players in the map? We've spent too long at C so far. Somebody could be pushing up A. We're not really quite sure. So let's go ahead, play things slow, go back to the default. Damage has been done. It's good looks for them. A nice discipline, nice tempo coming out. But they got to find something on the side of USC. And ETSU, they're not really fighting for much here. They know that this buy is ragtag. They know it's interesting, and they don't want to be giving anything stupid away.
Now, RB is going to be the one holding in a very aggressive short position. Ace maybe looking to trade while looking long. But if Lychee finds this initial pick and is able to, goes for the reload, tucks, and Ace is unable to trade it out. The reload was very ballsy for the side of Lychee, but it didn't matter. Now, with the weaker guns, and it's finally finding value running around with that Stinger. Lychee, though, gets a trade onto Ace. The spike is going to be going down over towards that Ace site. And Skeleton, I jinxed him, I suppose, finally punished on the lurk. Sniper very aware. Lychee aggressive towards the CT side. He's going to send out that cloud burst. He's going to try to slow it down, but they have no more smokes available, no dark covers as Ithaca has fallen. The 3v3 retake coming in from ETSU, and this has a lot of potential.
I mean, yeah, you got Recon Dart, you got Fault Line to work with here, and even then better yet, you got, Hunter's Fury off the back of it. It just comes down to whether or not we can actually see USC bite out this time with Doofenshmirtz already finding that first pick, knowing the guy's still alive, shooting it up towards there, and finding not only one, but possibly a second. You hear the stick. I mean, are you sure? Is it going to be half? Is it going to be full? Who knows? Because you're dead and you can't even contest it. A great window of opportunity there, taken grass and just completely controlled by ETSU. And while by a thin margin in terms of players remaining off the end of it, you know that a Hunter's Fury was invested. So that's not going towards C. So you have a lot more breathing room whenever you get around to these rounds that get a lot more nitty gritty, and it's Doofenshmirtz being the last one alive.
The investment there not working out for the side of USC has to be demoralizing. It felt like all the momentum was landsliding your way there. You were getting round after round after round after round. You couldn't be stopped. But the second that round falls to ETSU, that's when the reality check hits. They are 2 rounds away from taking your map, and you have to pull out some heroics here to get 5 before they get any, if you want to avoid overtime specifically. And so Ithaca is going to get the first on the Zenith, who gets way too aggressive there. Over towards C-Long. Sniper going to be looking for a trade, but somehow pulls out the classic. I don't believe that was intentional. Doofenshmirtz gets a kill there as well. USC might have lost that round, but they're not looking to slow down whatsoever. Spike King's going to spot one out. Snowflake trying to get value. Takes the head of Ithaca, but it's not enough damage with that rifle. And finally,
my God.
Skeleton closes it out, and USC said, you might have gotten around. but we aren't down for the count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Flawless for USC.
Yeah, great answer there coming out from USC. Let them know that, I mean, that round had absolutely no effect on what they can do over the big course of this game. I mean, making sure to just lock these guys out, showing that, I mean, even then, we are a team of fraggers is what USC has been saying consistently during that first map. And while we've kind of lost track of that during the second map, there has been specks of it here and there, just absolutely highlighting what they're capable of doing when they are just really running through this thing. So momentum, I mean, we've definitely seen it. First time they won the round in this second half, they managed to get 4 back to back there. They could possibly do this once more, and that would be game there, basically.
Not only map, but it'll be series point right there, and they're going to take this hole onto the C site. Snowflake switched over to A, as we've seen time and time again. But Zenith gets aggressive with a decoy, gets one, and Gate crashes out. Masterfully played there, and exactly what you want to see on those weaker gun rounds. The Stinger finding value once again for Zenith, and not a lot of players behind Lychee there to help him out. That decoy just flashing everybody, I suppose. And so now it's a 4v5 post plant. There's a gun down on site. But I do think they're going to try to take the space, take control, and Skeleton is going to spot out this player coming out A. Dimensional Drift from Zenith is invested to try to convert some value, push off the player that is Skeleton, and Ithaca goes absolutely mental on site.
Yeah, I mean, just this is a guy that we talked about being clutch and definitely doing it during that last map, being the Tejo, but now being in a different situation. I mean, no matter what, this guy by himself can manage to always get the job done. But with that C-side, I mentioned it earlier, Doofenshmirtz had to be alive, had to get the job done, and had to just be really clutching that thing out. But now in a situation where it's just these guys alive, it doesn't even need to be Doofenshmirtz. He's just there to give intel. He's just there to throw out utility. It's everyone else pushing up, getting a piece of the pie, and getting one more round to play with as we see USC hit double digits. So ETSU, I talked about that choke. We talk about what they've done. We talk about the testament to how they've rebounded and give themselves a lead in this game. But even then still, they've only managed 2 rounds in this half so far, because we talked about what is this defense going to look like with that double duelist, and has not been nearly the spotlight in terms of momentum that we were expecting.
Now Zenith's going to go ahead and pop that timeout, and I think that's the right call for ETSU. I want to highlight the layers that USC actually had in their post plant there. They went ahead and invested the Rolling Thunder because the timer was ticking down, kills falling their way, and went ahead and mopped up that round. But actually, if Dr. Doofenshmirtz is able to land that recon bolt inside the dark cover, like I believe was his intention, that scans out the diffuser, and then you can save the Rolling Thunder for even another level. So I think they had another 10 seconds of post plant utility set up there in order to slow down that diffuse, slow down that retake. The Dimensional Drift, maybe a couple seconds too late from Zenith on that retake, and the fact that Skeleton is so aggressive towards Garage is going to make Zenith not even be able to clear that backside angle. It picking up the first 2 from an unexpected angle is going to be the key to that post plant. You're playing from a disadvantage from the start with your guns, then you're going to lose your players, and it's all going to fall apart. What do you think is, what should they discuss here? What does ETSU need to do to stop this aggression from USC and find some more footholds in these rounds?
I mean, I think just a little more patience is going to do it for them. I mean, we see Zenith trying to go for these just bold plays every single round, and we haven't seen nearly the level of consistency in terms of kills that we've gotten out of Ace and Zenith during that last half. Put Snowflakes in a situation where this guy's holding a site with some assistance, able to go ahead and manage to get those kills, because that was your top frag during the last map, and this is your Cypher now on defense. Put him in a scenario where he feels good, he feels comfortable, where he can push out and take these fights, saying, if I'm going to die, all my util's here. So, I mean, it's going to go to waste regardless. So put that player specifically in a scenario where he's kind of in the middle of the mix, where he's getting those kills. And that's going to be difficult to do here, obviously, with a 3-site map, but put a little bit of utility investment everywhere else to make sure to funnel those players into that guy and that backup, which is Ace currently. I mean, it's only going to take a little bit of rounds, and you only need one more to guarantee the OT. But right here, once again, we talk about the first bloods. We talk about Zenith and how I said he was going for all these bold plays, early fights, and just can't manage to hit those shots.
Yeah, you mentioned early utility. I think that's the name of the game here. They've just been able to walk up for the side of USC every time they've wanted with not a lot of, if they get contested, the utility and the aggression is an all-out aggressive play from the side of ETSU, running all the way down C-long, running up mid, and they haven't had a lot of slow, walk out, hold down the angle. Lychee's going to get one as well, and Ithaca's close out the round for USC, and it's just looking so strong on this attacking half. The double duelist here is not able to find that sort of slow aggression that I think is missing, that utility, that sort of pressure on USC early in the round. And I feel like they're just kind of vibing with no pressure. They can go wherever they want. They can take whatever space they want, and they're not really getting punished. And if ETSU does get aggressive, the utility from USC and the trades are just top notch to shut it down. So ETSU's aggression just falling apart here, and I think that's one of the keys to their defense with 2 duelists.
I mean, look at the setup here. I mean, this round is going to be a thrifty coming up from ETSU if they manage to win it, but even then, still, the economy is destroyed nonetheless. And I mean, that's going to be their last chance of this next round. USC is basically off the back of this round guaranteed themselves at OT. And I mean, when it comes around to adaptability, when it comes around to wild card rounds and just kind of running through people, those are the only two flawlesses we've seen inside the series, is both from this team and what we've seen them manage to do. So, I mean, that's a concerning factor for ETSU, where honestly, if you find yourself a first blood, I think it's worth possibly the neural theft or even in a hunter's fear to kind of go ahead and space this thing out. Look desperate, find some wild cards, find something crazy. With the skeleton already finding ace there, it makes it look a lot less doable over and over again, where it's just nothing but concerns arising again and again and again. And the thing is, also nailing just a line shot through smoke for a headshot does not help the case whatsoever.
I believe maybe that neural theft and that shrouded step timing just didn't fall the way of USC, but actually a great couple of shots there back on the trays. Snowflake's going to find one of the B lurks, and then Zenith's going to take down one of the A players. Ithaca is posted up here. They're going to have to clear him out, but Snowflakes did spot him. This round, the tides could be turning here. Zenith's going to be looking to fight off this B player as the spike is pivoting over towards C. Vendingus is going to be planning, and the Hunter's Fury to slow that down as well. They're down to 30 seconds, and the Hunter's Fury is going to get the kill. Neural Theft's going to come out, but Ithaca finally getting the value on the lurk. However, Snowflakes was hunting that whole entire time. Finds the one. Now it's a 1v1. Swinging out to get to map point. Pops the spike cam. Spike tapped over and over. 17 seconds. And Doofenshmirtz is just winning the gunfights once again. This guy doesn't miss. And both of the top frags from the previous map going at it in a very, very clutch 1v1. So many ultimates invested that round. And somehow when the dust settles, when the trades fall, the bodies fall to the ground.
And even then, I mean
gets it.
Beautiful chow coming through from Doofenshmirtz. I mean, at the end of that, I mean, obviously you can tell the shots going through, understanding there's a couple of hits there that have hit, and hearing that cam saying, if I just swing out more, this guy's going to think I'll probably move back to get the spike down. I'm just actually aggressing, and I'm making sure to guarantee this kill, and I can get that extra 300 creds afterwards. Who cares about the 300 creds at this point in the game? You're at a set where you can just close this thing out, and I mean, none of it really matters. So initial blood almost managing there as Zenith once again likes to go for these lineups over towards stack on C side. But already when you see so many players allocated there, USC is reading that ETSU doesn't want to give up the space. They want to set up a defensive front relatively early. And this is that point now where they're funneling back over towards A. And who's going to be there ready? Snowflakes. This guy can manage one, but has no help. And it's going to feel like they're on an island and just going for retakes rather than actually being in the mix that we've seen and nailing those shots that they want.
And scaling up now with looking for an A split to close out this map, close out the series. And ooh, Ithaca absolutely punched there. I'm going to try to use the Shrouded Step to get the timing past the tripwire. And Lychee actually tries to get some information and gets kill contracted.
Oh
and
my God.
wins it. That's not what you want to see for ETSU. You need this round desperately, and you can't be losing that initial pick. Zenith's going to find a spam onto Lychee. Great kill. There's Snowflake's taking the aggression, trying to take the fight. Gets one, looking for more. Doofenshmirtz versus Skeleton getting a couple of their own. Zenith with the Dimensional Drift a little bit late on the retake, and the flank is found. Doofenshmirtz finds Zenith. USC, with a comeback, take this home. 2 maps to none.
Insane there. I mean, consider what we saw, and considering better yet what ETSU was trying to manage there. We talked about their defensive end. We talked about what they were going to have to do on that second half, and with the double duelist, it just wasn't enough. We saw some hopes there from Ace, and when it came around to the retakes, better yet, understand that this is where the duelist should be stepping up. This is these opportunities where we should see some of that consistency, some of that kind of aggression come back into the mix, but we just didn't get it. And even in still Zenith, we saw the wake up towards that second quarter, towards the end of that first half, really starting to warm up, hit those shots. That aggression was being warranted, had support from the rest of the team, but wanted to duplicate that same effect on defense. But you don't have 4 players on your back helping you through that process. You maybe got 1 man if you're lucky, and half the time you were allocated towards C by yourself and had absolutely nothing. It was just over and over again where ETSU, as I said, only managed to get 2 rounds during that second half. You can't let that happen whatsoever.
And now if I'm looking forward into the bracket here, USC's discipline, usually USC's gunfights. If I'm any team here, I'm worried about USC. They're looking like a very strong contender. They're a top 5 seed for a reason, and just the way they've played, I really liked it. Able to recover after that first half. You had a very slow start on that defensive side. But it didn't matter because you were able to adapt. You were able to understand that that double duelist comp might be weak on defense, and you just had the discipline, the control, that mindset to adapt, pivot around the map, keep a complete map control. The awareness of players like Skeleton there on the Sentinel role is absolutely brutal to deal with when you can never find a hole and he finds every single hole you have. And so just the awareness of USC is something to look out for as any team in the future tries to go against this team who's probably making a run for it all.
Yeah, I mean, with that being there, I mean, just seeing really what's in front of them. I mean, USC looking like, as we saw, I mean, earlier, a strong contender, but still, I mean, having so much more of a long road ahead of them, knowing that they're on the same side of the bracket as George Mason University B, University of Florida White, Atlanta University. That's still a matchup that's got to go underway because, I mean, that's a check-in. We haven't really seen much of a result off the back of it. But even then, still, the winner of this going up against what seems like so far, because we're in the verification stage of Clemson. So you just beat number 5 seed in terms of this Rising Star playoff scenario, but you get to go up against number 4 next, and I doubt they're going to be able to drop their all map selection right off the get-go that easily. So, I mean, there's a long, tumultuous road ahead of them, but, I mean, who knows how they're really going to chalk it up? Because, I mean, as we mentioned earlier, Infernos just chose this match because it should show whatever team makes it through the rest of the group, but even then, giving up that many rounds, I highly doubt another team, while ETSU managed to give up 2, I can guarantee you the rest of these teams are going to give up a lot less. And that should be a map number 3, and who knows how Icebox goes, because it's a complete wild card. It didn't occur. So there's a lot of question marks here in the Rising Star playoffs. We haven't seen anything on the other side of the bracket, but, I mean, these two teams, if you're going to not only compete to get yourself to the end of this playoff stage, but better yet go against the rest of the Tier 1 teams, there's still a lot of improvement that's got to be made, and you only got a couple weeks to do it.
Absolutely. Regardless, though, I think there's a lot of players to watch out for the side of USC. They have gunfights across the board. Doofenshmirtz showing a lot of skill on that first map with the race, winning the gunfights, winning the shots, but then the flexibility to pivot over to that Sova and had a lot of great utility, a lot of information provided to his team on that initiator role. So I think that flexibility and maybe even settling into set roles, now that you've established and you've tried out your hand on a few different agents on a few different maps. If you're able to settle into those roles, I think that was one of the things USC struggled with early on. Is these players, they weren't set on these agent roles. They didn't play in the map before, so they have to pivot your mindset a little bit. You have to think of the game a little bit differently when you're in that role because you have a completely different responsibility. And so based off of that, if USC is able to finalize their agent compositions, understand their map pool, and just complete dominance throughout this upper half of this bracket, I think that's a very likely upset team, and I'm not going to be surprised to see some more upsets coming out from them.
Yeah, I think it's all relatively feasible, especially when you look at USC and what they were doing. I mean, you talk about the lock-ins, Doofenshmirtz was kind of lighting up later on. I think the biggest problem that we are going to see out of USC going forward, if they do go back to this map selection, is more so whether or not lights you can kind of light up earlier, because on the defense, wasn't really seeing much there. I mean, I remember seeing the scoreboard at some point being 5-11, ended the entire game at a little bit better, 14-20, obviously, but I mean, still that margin when you're talking about being on the defensive end for so long and seeing those strings of rounds together, you can't really count on everybody else because you're going to be in the fray first. You're expecting that trade. You're expecting to go even, better yet positive, and maybe find 1-2 off the back of it. And depending on what the map selection is, who knows who's going to be in what role and really playing what? Because as we said, it comes down to kind of what came first, the chicken or the egg. Is it an initiator player inside of that Raise comfort pick, or is it a duelist player inside that Sova comfort pick? Not every single map is going to be able to fulfill those conditions. And, well, as you said, I mean, they got time to work on it. They got time to figure it out. There's a couple stages left, a couple weeks ready to go. But for at least tonight here, unfortunately, it's going to be the end of us because, well, we only had 2 maps. Even better yet, next week's going to be, once again, Rocket League, Valorant off the end of it. But before I go ahead and close things out, what do you want, Cheez-It? I mean, obviously, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. But I'm hoping Scott's not going to be dying next week. Hopefully he'll feel better.
No, absolutely. Hoping he gets well soon. But I loved being here. I enjoyed the SEL stream. It was a really fun match. We've had a lot of amazing gunfights, a lot of amazing gunplay. And, I think this team is going to be a team to watch moving forward. And I'm excited to see how they do.
Well, we got plenty of weeks to do it, so catch us next week for some more Valorant. We'll give you that bracket update whenever it comes along. See you then.